Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reviews by Hunter. That's me. I am Hunter, and today I've got a review for Predator Badlands for you. I know it has been a minute since I have actually made an official movie review. That's on me. I apologize, but I am back with another review if you've been patiently waiting. So, this movie came out 3 days ago, released on November 7th. This was directed by, let me see here, Dan Trachtenberg. He also directed the last Predator movie, Prey. It might have not been the very last one, but one of the last ones, which was also pretty good. This movie currently has an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. It had a budget of $105 million, and for the box office, it had a $40 million opening weekend, which apparently set a franchise record. And if you didn't know, I am in fact a big Predator fan. Probably one of my favorite franchises. I grew up watching Alien versus Predator with my dad just over and over. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So when this movie got announced, I was really, really excited. This is not from the movie, but I've actually had this one now for a while. I don't remember what exact movie this guy is from. But anyway, on to the movie review. As always, there will be spoilers because that's just the kind of channel I am. I'll tell you right off the bat, I really loved this movie, man. I think I went in with just mild expectations, and it ended up just being a lot of fun. This is a sci-fi horror film, and honestly, dude, like I said, much better than I thought it was going to be. The speculation beforehand about, oh, the design looks bad, the CGI isn't finished. I did not have any issue with any of these things. So let's get into it. First with the cast. So we have Elle Fanning, who plays Thea, and I'm going to butcher this name, but it is Demetrius Kolomatangi, who plays our main character, the Predator in this film, Dek. And then we had Mike Homick, who plays Dek's brother, Quay, and Rohinal Nayaran, who plays Bud. So not a huge cast. I'm literally on Google right now, and those are the only four names that it brings up. So yeah, small cast, but that's all right. So let's get into it. What did I like about Predator Badlands? Well, first of all, what is Predator Badlands about? Well, this is what I decided to come up with. I didn't want to just give you the Google synopsis. So Dek, who is our main character, embarks on a story of revenge, as well as trying to prove his worth to the Yaoja clan after the loss of his brother, Quay, who was killed by his father for showing weakness. Dek is then exiled from the clan and travels to a world known as the Danger Planet, Planet Genna, in an attempt to kill the unkillable Kalisk and bring it home as a trophy. Within the first 10-15 minutes, I knew I was going to like this movie because it set the tone. If you watch my channel, if there's anything I love about movies, particularly action movies, I love it when a movie sets the tone and you just kind of know what kind of journey you should expect. And so let's get into it. The first thing that I noticed that I really liked about this film is that it looks great. It really does look great, and that includes the CGI. I didn't notice anything that looked terribly bad or unfinished. Honestly, I thought it looked pretty damn fantastic. Also, the soundtrack was pretty good as well. Definitely added to some of the tense moments in the film. And also, the action scenes in this film, which I feel like are so crucial for the Predator franchise, were a lot of fun. That's something I always enjoy about the Predator franchise is the action, the way the Predators use their tech, the way that they fight. And Dek in this movie is considered a runt of the Yaoja clan. And I guess within the Yaoja clan, strength is sort of prioritized over everything, to the point that Dek's father, who is just referenced as father in the film, wants to cull Dek and actually orders Quay, his brother, to get rid of him. And then Quay protects his brother, and then because he protects him, father says, now you're showing weakness, and kills the brother almost instantly. It was honestly kind of a boss moment from Quay. And his last words to Deck are, bring it home. What he means by that is every Yaoja has to complete a hunt and bring home a trophy in order to sort of prove themselves, okay? Deck decides that because Father considers him the weakest member of the clan, he needs to kill the strongest. That's why he decides he wants to go kill the unkillable Kalisk on a planet known as the Danger Planet Genna. A planet so dangerous that Father himself fears this planet, and Deck is like, yeah, I'm the weakest of the clan, but I'm gonna go solo this this unkillable boss and show the clan that I am worthy and that I have value. Right off the bat, I loved how it just felt like this Predator Deck had a lot more personality than Predators we've seen in the past. I enjoyed that they added a lot of depth to not only a Deck as a Predator, but just the lore of the Yaoja clan in general. Even if it was just a little bit more that we got, I feel more than we had before. Another thing that I loved is that the pacing of the movie is pretty good. It's fairly quick pacing, but not like to the point where you feel like you're missing anything. It's the type of pacing where it just feels like you can't take your eyes off the screen, and I actually quite enjoy that. In past Predator movies, it usually takes a while to get to the action, and in this movie, again, within probably the first 10 minutes, we have a fight between Deck and Quay, where Quay is more in older brother mentor mode. Like, as they are violently fighting, Quay is like telling him, like, you fight with rage, and you need to use your surroundings, and this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. He clearly cares about Deck, but I loved how we got action in this movie so early on. Another thing I loved in this movie was Elle Fanning as Thea. Thea is like this synthetic human who works for this company, and their mission is also to capture the unkillable Kalisk. Of course, she hides this secret from Deck from most of the movie because they both have the same goal, and she is using him to get to her goal, but they end up becoming pals later on. I also loved that the themes in this movie. I didn't think I'd be talking about that in a Predator film, man, but the theme of Deck finding his own clan, right? He's been exiled from his clan, and throughout the movie, he is hell-bent on, I'm gonna kill Kalisk the Unkillable, chop off his head, and bring the trophy home to the clan to prove myself. Throughout the film, that's a huge thing about Deck. He wants to prove himself. He's going to kill this monster that no Yaoja before him has been able to, and if he dies, at least it'll be honorable, right? But this quickly changes into him finding his own family after being rejected. My apologies, ran out of storage space on my phone, and I kind of lost my train of thought, but I believe I was talking about Deck finding his own family after being rejected from his, and I can relate to that because I'm adopted, and so I kind of also have like found family. And it was cool to see a Predator, Deck, go from being so filled with rage because he's grieving over the death of his brother, killed by his own father. He wants so badly to prove himself. And eventually, there's a scene in the film where Thea, played by Elle Fanning, tells him that on planet Earth, there's a ferocious predator called a wolf, right? And Deck doesn't know what that is. He's like, wolf? And she's like, yes, a wolf. Wolves hunt in packs, though. And the leader of the wolves is called the Alpha. And they're the Alpha not because they kill the most, but because they protect the most. They also, because in the movie, they meet this companion named Bud, who happens to seem to be hunting the same a monster that Deck was earlier in the film. And then we eventually come to find out, again, there's spoilers in this review. Eventually we come to find out that Bud, it was more important than we thought, because Bud turns out to be the child of the Kalisk. Bud marks Deck by spitting on him, and Thea tells Deck that what he's doing is marking him to claim him as part of his family. Now, of course, at first Deck doesn't care because he repeats this throughout the movie. Yaoja hunt alone. We hunt alone. You should be able to protect yourself. very stuck in, his how he grew up as a Yaoja. And eventually he embraces the role of being the alpha instead of just the predator. And he actually goes to at one point in the movie he returns to rescue Thea, which is something that predators, I mean, that's pretty much unheard of, at least in the films of I think predators like doing something that selfless, basically. Um, Another thing that I liked is that the Callus just looked pretty badass. I loved the look of the Callus. Again, the reason that it's the unkillable Callus is that it has these crazy regenerative powers that, again, I thought it looked cool the way that they depicted it. Like all of its, I don't, all the muscles and tendons, if he chops a piece off, like coming back together. I really liked that. And I also loved that it truly felt like the Danger Planet. Everything is trying to kill Deck, from the grass, like razor blade grass. We have even the wildlife. So yeah, the grass, the trees, the things above the trees, the bugs. There's flowers that try to like paralyze you, and then this other like little squid thing that shoots at it and it makes it explode. Everything is dangerous on this planet, and I do think that they leaned into that quite a bit, and I appreciated that. And I've gone through a lot of what I've liked about the film, which again, for the most part, is just it looks great, it sounds great, the action is fun, we get more depth from a Predator character as well as just the lore about the clan. Now let's get into what maybe I didn't like as much, and I'll be honest, this is me nitpicking. I really loved this film, so these are nitpicks. First and foremost, the fight between Father and Deck should have been longer. It was a good fight, and I love how Father tries to save his own ass at the end by being, because literally Father gets overwhelmed by Deck. Deck has learned on planet Genna how to fight better, how to use his environment, and I think just what his greatest strengths are, but I think he also learned what his weaknesses were too. And so he gets the best of Father, chops his arm off. Father's on both knees, and he's literally like, oh, well, perhaps the right son did survive. Yield now, and you can have a place in our clan. And I thought it was so funny, because I'm like, dude, you just got sunned by your own son, and you're telling him to yield. And then Deck is just like, yeah, no, and I think he just stabs him in the head or chops his head off or something. And then the movie ends with a giant Yaoja spacecraft coming into frame, and then we just see it's shot from like the backs of Deck, Thea, and Bud, and Thea's like, are those friends of yours? And Deck's like, no, that's my mother. And then the movie ends. Didn't have a problem with that. I actually like that because it sets up another movie that I think could even be better than this one, because now that we have depth to these characters for not just Deck, but Thea and Bud as well, I think a second movie would go even harder, bro. I think they could add even more action. Another thing I do wish is that this movie was rated R. Again, a nitpick, it is PG-13. However, I don't think it felt like a kiddie movie. The only reason I would say I wish it was rated R is maybe they could have done some other things that could have been a little bit more like, oh, holy moments. But again, that's a nitpick. And also, this movie comes in at about an hour 47, so under 2 hours. I think maybe this movie was fun enough, and the action was so fun, and the characters of Deck and Thea were so fun. Maybe this movie could have been 10, 15 minutes longer. I'm just saying. Maybe somewhere out there we're going to get the extended version on Blu-ray or DVD. We'll have to see. And then there's one other nitpick I have. In the trailer, there's a scene where he's speaking in his language, which as he does throughout the whole film, there's a lot of subtitles. He says, I am prey to none. And I don't know, just the way they shot that, I thought it was so badass. Unless I missed it, I don't think he says I am prey to none in the actual film. It bothers me when movie trailers will have a really cool one-liner like that, and then in the actual film they take it out. I just don't understand that. I think that's stupid. But that's pretty much all I have for this spoiler-included review of Predator Badlands. One of my favorite installments in the franchise. I mean, maybe as far as just Predator movies, this might actually be my favorite. The only thing I would maybe put over it, really for nostalgic purposes, is Alien versus Predator, the first one, because there's a second one, right, as well. But anyway, this was a lot of fun. My final rating for this, by the way, I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. Really, really enjoyed this one, and it just, I love when you enjoy a movie way more than you thought you were going to. And as far as the design of Deck, like, it makes sense as you watch the movie. He's not supposed to look like the most intimidating, strongest, most, decked out, no pun intended, Predator. He's the runt of the clan. He's not supposed to look totally badass, but he ends up becoming badass. And even just, oh my God, I didn't think they could, like, make me emotionally invested in a Predator character, man. These are supposed to be like the mightiest, proudest warriors. All they care about is killing and collecting their trophies and strengthening their clan. And Deck basically says, you know what, screw that. I'll find my own clan and I'll show you how strong I really am. But that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching another video. I know I every time I say I'm going to make a short video, it ends up being long. But whatever, guys. Take care and leave me some recommendations for some more movies.